Welcome to the Celtic State of Mind. I'm John Dykes, and tonight I'm delighted to be joined once again by Kevin P Gilday. Kevin, welcome back.
Thank you very much for having us back. Delighted to be here.
A Celtic State of Mind ran for about 2 years where every single podcast guest came on, and I think we more or less covered their entire lives, and there was probably no point in asking them back on. But with yourself, Kevin, you're welcome back anytime you want. But since November, December time, when we did have you on as a special guest, there's been so much happening that, there's so much to discuss, both with yourself and also the world issues that we've all been facing. How are you bearing up to lockdown and how that's affecting your career at the moment?
I'm doing all right just now. I'm trying my best to diversify and be dynamic and try new things. So obviously a big part of my career was performing live and being in front of audiences and doing what I was doing. And, overnight, everything that I had booked just disappeared. So tours with my band, theatre tours, for my Fringe show, a new show that was going to be at the Fringe this year, all my spoken word gigs, all my gigs with Sonic Youth, the show that I promote. Basically, it all just disappeared overnight, and I needed to find some way of kind of clawing it back. So I've been doing what I can and moving what I can online, doing lots of streaming gigs and lots of Facebook gigs and Instagram gigs, and it's good. It's good to still perform and get it out to people, but it's not the same. It's no the same buzz of performing in front of a live audience and getting to see the whites of people's eyes and getting to properly make people laugh or feel something. So it's been hard, but I'm trying my best to make it work. Basically,
definitely. I think yourself and other performers, and we've seen musicians who have been doing gigs in their front gardens and raising cash that way and things like that. I mean, everybody seems to have adapted simply because, we've had no other option. Kevin, you and I are doing this via Zoom, which I didn't even know existed prior to the lockdown. We had just built a studio in Glasgow. We just, got it all together about a week before this happened. So it was a case of grabbing some equipment and bringing it home, setting up a temporary space. And then the way I've kind of dealt with it, Kevin, is I've been on complete lockdown for 7 weeks, I think now. And my wife, she works for the NHS, so she's doing all the pickups and drop-offs and all that kind of stuff. So I thought to myself, this is going to be hellish. So I decided just to do daily podcasts, and it's given me a kind of process day-to-day, a structure, and something to get my teeth into. So I've enjoyed it, and I'm delighted that you've come back on, because there's so much other material that we need to discuss. First and foremost, the Celtic State of Mind had to set up an inaugural single of the week after you released with the Glasgow Cross A Sensitive Man, which we've got a WhatsApp group with Axom, 18 members, and we were all raving about this single. Talk to us about your musical career. Take us back to the beginning and bring it right up to that single and the kind of reaction you've had to that, Kevin.
Brilliant. No, I'm glad she's liked it so much. The Glasgow Cross, full name Kevin P Gilday and the Glasgow Cross, kind of started it as a kind of one-off project. So the idea that it was myself and Ralph Hector, who I'd kind of worked with a wee bit. He was in a great band called the Sea Kings, which some people might remember, and I had supported them and done a wee kind of split single with them and stuff, and got to know Ralph, and Ralph said, I would love to make an album where I put some music to your poems. And I was like, well, that sounds like a brilliant idea. So we kind of got into that, and we just thought, this is a one-off thing. I've got some poems here, he's going to make some music for it, we'll put it on an album, we'll put it out, it'll be great. And we ended up just getting along so well and enjoying the process so much that we thought, is there any way we can make this a live thing? Could we turn this into a band, even though it's just poems and music? So we kind of started messing about with it a wee bit and kind of, you know, making it into more of a live kind of proposition. And yeah, it was so good, and we enjoyed it so much. We were like, I think we're a band now. And so we started writing together. And so this new album that's coming out this month, 29th of May, so that's songs that we've written together as a band. Still, some of them has spoken word elements, like A Sensitive Man. Some of them are kind of still poems, but there's also bits on it now with vocals, proper kind of backing tracks. It sounds like a band now rather than just some poems put to music. So it's a big step forward for us and a big progression. And I've loved it. I've absolutely loved it. It's one of my favourite projects I've ever been involved in. One of my favourite pieces of art that I've ever created is this album. And I'm so glad that people are kind of hearing bits of it and enjoying it. And especially that A Sensitive Man was kind of connecting with people. You know, this poem about toxic masculinity and sensitivity and being yourself kind of stuck into this track that sounds a bit like a kind of indie hit, and kind of putting those two things together. I wasn't sure if it would work, if people would connect to it, but a lot of people have been sending me messages saying that they love it and that they love the idea behind it and the lyrics. So yeah, it's really great to hear.
Kevin, I always think back to, try to think maybe the late 90s, I guess, and it would be a case of you would be going in blind to buy music a lot of the time. You would basically trust certain reviewers in certain magazines, and you would actually go in and you'd be buying things, you know, without having heard them a lot of the time if it was proper indie material, because obviously they weren't getting the airplay or they weren't on MTV2. And I must say, and I'm not saying it was a throwback to those times, but are there bands from that era that were inspirational to you?
Yeah, definitely. I think I really love stuff like Beat a Band, Super Furry Animals. I'm trying to think of what other kind of contemporary 90s stuff. I mean, loads of stuff that actually I got into after the fact, like Slow Dive and stuff like that, which, you know, obviously at the time I was kind of a bit younger, probably listened to a load of shite, to be honest. Probably listening to whatever was in the charts or whatever my pals were listening to. And for a long time I kind of dismissed a lot of 90s music. And then I went back and I was listening to stuff like the Auteurs and stuff like that, just things that maybe came under the radar a wee bit that I went back and discovered and really enjoyed. So there's a lot of stuff there that I maybe didn't appreciate at the time, but now that I'm a wee bit older, I can go back and enjoy.
It's great, and I've said this a few times on the podcast, how great it is to be able to do that so easily now rather than overpay for records and all that kind of stuff. Kevin, I remember Kevin Graham was raving about your spoken word material to us for some time before you came onto A Celtic State of Mind, and I always find it incredible that you've got such an eclectic kind of output. You're a poet, you're a podcaster, a writer, a musician, frontman, and you also run Sonnet Youth. And I think you probably summed it up there by saying it's all art. It all comes under the umbrella of art. Is that the way you look at it? It doesn't matter what form it takes. It's just being creative and making something original.
Yeah, 100%. Like when I get an idea, I usually have to kind of synthesize it a wee bit and think about it and go, right, is this idea a poem, or is this idea a play, or is this idea a song, or is it a wee sketch for a comedy bit? You know, it's like you just kind of need to trust the idea and just let it go in whatever direction it wants. But for me, it's all part of the same thing. Like the spoken word feeds into the music feeds into the writing and my theatre work. It feeds into my kind of writing prose. So yeah, it's all the same to me, and I think they all start to inform each other. And overall, I'd love to get to the place where somebody would look at my back catalogue and look at all the work and see, oh, that's all connected up actually, you know, this theme in this poem is something that appears in this song and it also appears in this play. I'd love somebody to join all those wee dots that I've been kind of putting down. But yeah, to me, it's all just part of art and creating stuff and sharing things and just trying to make a connection with people, just sharing your thoughts and feelings and putting it out into the world, which is, yeah, what I love to do.
Absolutely brilliant, Kevin. The theme of toxic masculinity that you cover in A Sensitive Man, I think it's so relevant during these times. You know, I'm saddened to hear so many people suffering throughout the lockdown. You know, their mental wellness is really taking a big hit, Kevin, and there's been many, many casualties, unfortunately. You know, is this something that you feel we are tackling enough now? Because it really has come to the fore, hasn't it, over the last couple of months with regards to where everybody is. Everybody's kind of like a prisoner in a box at the moment, you know. And we don't have the freedom that our normal lives allow us. And as I say, quite early doors, probably without thinking too much about it, I was able to just create this structure, which I think has got me through the last 2 months, you know, without any wobbles as such. But there's people living 7 floors up in a high-rise who don't have any kind of escapism. What on earth is this going to do for the nation's mental health? Do you think there's going to be a long-standing issue well after we get back to whatever normality is?
Yeah, I do think so. I also think there's an opportunity here for people to connect to themselves a wee bit more. And I know that's a hard thing, and it's a really hard thing to do, especially when you're not used to it. But a lot of people have lost their coping mechanisms. But some of those coping mechanisms, the drinking, the gambling, pornography, whatever, it's not things that are good for your mental health in high doses. So I feel like this is actually a great time for people to connect to themselves and listen to themselves a wee bit more and not rely on these crutches that we have. But I know that for a lot of people that's going to be really hard because it's such a built-in part of their lives, you know. I know for a fact, like my dad not being able to go to the pub, he's gone mental because it's such a built-in fabric of his life. Some people not being able to put on the horses. Some people not being able to go and drink with their pals. It's a hard thing, but we need to be able to connect to ourselves and realise that, you know, all we actually need is to be happy and healthy and to be able to deal with our own mental health. Sadly, I think that a lot of people are ill-equipped to do that because nobody's ever taught them. Do you know what I mean? Nobody's ever said to them, oh, by the way, this is how you do it. This is how you look after yourself. Oh, by the way, you don't need to think like that. You can think this way instead. I would love if everybody went to see a counsellor and everybody kind of done a wee bit of meditating and done a wee bit of mindfulness. But I think we're still a wee bit away from that as a society in terms of people taking all that stuff seriously. But it's something that, you know, I didn't take seriously till I was in my 20s and my mental health kind of took a hit. And once I started to take all these things on board and treat them seriously and with respect, I realised that, God, these are the things that will really help you in life. You know, you can go and get pissed at your face, but you're still going to feel the same way the next day. Whereas if you're being mindful and you're kind of talking to somebody and you're seeing a counsellor and all the rest of it, these are things that can properly help you for the rest of your life.
A big thing as well, obviously, you're in an industry or a number of industries where you are giving out entertainment by performing live, and over the last couple of months, Kevin, there's been loads of entertainment provided to us by the club playing out of Ibrox and their ongoing saga with the SPFL. You know, just what has been your take on this soap opera? It's basically pop will eat itself, you know what I mean? Just give them enough rope.
I think you're right when you say soap opera, because, I mean, come on, just how can they not be embarrassed? How can they not be embarrassed with themselves, you know? How can you, like, if that was my team and I woke up every morning, I'm like, oh, there's another statement out, what they said today. You'd just be like, get a grip of yourself, turn it up a wee bit. Just and you're right, like, it's been really gratifying to not be involved in it actually, and just to know that we've not done anything wrong and we are going to be fine because we actually have financial security, and that we can basically go, okay, we'll just let them do what they're doing. And I mean, what they've done with just a tiny bit of time is just embarrass themselves over and over and over again. And this dossier, I mean, come on, just...
See the thing, Kevin, and again, I have mentioned this quite a few times on the podcast, back in the day, back in the 90s, where Celtic were a shambolic club and being run by incompetence, the first people that spoke about it and done something about it and stood up to the people who were tarnishing the reputation of the club were the fans. I mean, we looked at the situation. The fanzines were massive in that, and the fanzine movement, the street movement that the fanzines were able to breathe life into, you know, that eventually turned into Celts for Change, which was massive. It was huge. A huge part of the Fergus McCann journey was fans and the street movement. The Rangers fans just agree with everything they're told. I mean, I have never tuned in to anything that they do. I don't look at the blogs. I don't look at the forums. But every now and again, there's a couple of really funny guys on Twitter who will post up a wee snippet, you know, and you just think, oh dear, they actually believe that they are being persecuted. It's incredible. And that's part of the problem for them, is no one is actually standing up and saying, by the way, we're in a terrible mess, and if we continue to delay this, the inevitable will occur. That's the difference. I mean, we had a great sense of humour when we were absolutely dreadful, Kevin, you know, back in the 90s. We actually had a sense of humour, but we realised how bad we were, and the fact that we had to challenge it. I don't see any challenge to this fiasco that's ongoing at Rangers.
No. I mean, you talk about mental health issues, like that level of cognitive dissonance to see what's happening and to pretend that it's not. I mean, to be able to look at that and go, that's a fucking disaster, that is a complete shit show, and yet to go, it must be somebody else's fault. It must be, it can't be our fault. It has to be a conspiracy. It needs to be someone else that's done this to us, because it's not us. You know, it can't ever be us. And you just go, please, somebody needs to take responsibility there. Someone needs to go, by the way, this is a disaster and this is the best way to fix it. But because nobody will do that, because nobody will even admit that it's a disaster, because of embarrassment, I suppose, that it's just going to get worse and worse. And they're just going to get into more a hole, and just they're going to be back where they started. It's just, watching it happen, you just wonder why nobody's just stood up and said, hey, we can all see this happening. Can somebody step in and try and stop it? But, well, I'll leave them to it. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but they all seem quite happy with it. So
it's quite incredible to allow it to happen. But as you say, you know, just stand back and allow it to unravel. In the meantime, we've learned that, you know, Hearts will be getting relegated. There won't be any reconstruction. And it's a matter of time now, Kevin, before Celtic are awarded the championship. And that is awarded, not given. I mean, despite what some of the narrative is that we've been following in the Scottish media. Now, you've adapted to the lockdown, and, you know, there's been people having Zoom parties. I've done a couple of interviews with Paddy McCourt and John Hughes over the cameras. It's been a learning curve, certainly for me. But what I'm wondering is, when we are awarded our 9th consecutive title in a row, how on earth are we going to celebrate that? I
know, it's a hard one, isn't it? Like, I feel like I'd love there to be some kind of online, worldwide celebration, you know, some kind of, I don't know what technology exists to allow people to do that, but maybe some kind of video thing on the Facebook that loads of people can jump on. Maybe some individual wee Zoom parties for mates to go and share and have a good time. It's going to be weird though. It's going to be weird not being with people and not being in the pub and not kind of sharing that energy and, you know, getting pints in and hugging everybody and feeling that. I'm really going to miss it, actually, especially because it's such an important one and such a kind of historic title to win. Mm-hmm. But I think we just need to make the best of it. And the one thing that I will say is the good part about all this is that when we're doing things online and we're doing things on the internet, then it becomes worldwide instantly. It becomes something that people in America can access, and people in Australia can access, and people in Argentina can access. And it automatically becomes something a wee bit more accessible for everybody. So I think that if there's a silver lining, it's that maybe if we're all online celebrating, we can celebrate with people all around the world, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. I mean, my suggestion is at 9 o'clock on the night that we are awarded the 9th title in a row, everybody opens their windows upstairs preferably, and plays I Want to Be Adored at full volume, and open the windows and just enjoy it. And you know what I mean, I think most of the people in my street are jambos, so get it right up them, Kevin. That's my suggestion. I don't know if there's going to be any traction on that, but there you go, throw it out there. And with regards to the soap opera and the fact that Celtic are biding their time and they'll get their just desserts, and my biggest real concern is the long-term effects on Scottish football. I've been called a prophet of doom a few times because of my kind of suggestions here, but I truly believe that we're going to be in a situation where this might end Celtic's involvement. Maybe not immediately, but Celtic's involvement in Scottish football. Do you think such a massive global pandemic such as this could result in something as massive as Celtic leaving Scottish football?
I mean, it's something that could happen. This is such a massive historic event that I don't think we're going to be able to understand the consequences of it for years and years to come. Mm-hmm. But if I was running a football league and, you know, this has happened and we've lost loads of money and the TV money's all went down and the economy's in the bin, bringing in Celtic into your league or becoming or forming a European Super League or any one of those ideas, that would, to me, be a solution. If I was one of those people that was running kind of football and looking at ways to keep it viable and to keep it interesting and to get people involved. But yeah, it's a hard one. I really hope it's not the end of Scottish football. I know there's so much grassroots good that it does for people, and there's so much in people's communities that it makes worthwhile. And I hope that all these clubs come through it, but so many teams were just living life in this kind of financial precariousness, and all it took was for one bad thing to happen. Fair enough, one thing that nobody predicted, but one thing nonetheless. And then for it all to just kind of, you know, crumble instantly. And we've seen that with so many industries, but I think the kind of margins for football teams were definitely razor fine. And now we're seeing what happens when that's the case, when there's not the margin for error, when there's not a kind of, you know, safety net in place to help them if something does happen.
No, you're right. And everybody's playing catch up, and it's just crumbled around everybody's ears. I think when, on a much, much smaller scale, when we get back to being able to get out and perform live, I think there will be an element of what we've been doing over the last couple of months will remain, something that is probably going to improve the output, you know, certainly with a Celtic State of Mind. And the club itself, you know, being the big fish in a tiny wee pond in Scottish football, with that worldwide global support, they might have to look at how they can harness that by using modern technology. Perhaps it's not been done as well as it could have been, you know, in relation to reaching out to fans in Australia and America and far-flung places all over the globe. Wherever really there's an Irish diaspora, there's a big contingent of Celtic supporters there, you know. So it's like you say, that there's going to be some real learning taken out of this. And I'm looking forward to the point where we can all get back to coming and seeing you perform, or putting on a live event, or going to Celtic Park, or just meeting your mates. You know, it's become the norm, which is the strangest thing about it, Kevin. It has gradually become the norm. And going back to what we were saying there about, you know, whilst Rangers are denying bullying, even though the latest statement used the words, "We will not be bullied," into silence. It was absurd. Meanwhile, Peter Lawwell's probably having high-level meetings with other teams around the globe about what we're going to do if small countries' leagues are diminishing. So it just shows you the kind of levels or the mentality and the difference between the two. Going back to the time where we were great at really just, you know, self-deprecating, I guess, with the fanzine culture. There was a brilliant feature in the Not The View called They Embarrass the Hoops, Kevin. Now, I've already been pulled up about this because people are saying, man, but, you know, they might have embarrassed the Hoops, but they were still better than you and me. And I totally get that, right? But there's been some dross played for Celtic, and I think it's fair as supporters to say he was murder. Is there anybody in your Celtic supporting life that you think should have featured in Not The View, They Embarrass the Hoops?
I'm trying to think who is that bad. I've always, the thing with me is I've always got a soft spot for rubbish players. because I think they go, that's a shame. Like, you know, especially if they're trying their best, you're like, come on, that's a wee shame. I think I always remember just being absolutely amazed that Chris Killen was a football player.
That's true enough, aye.
Like, he was, I mean, fair enough, he was quite tall, which is an attribute, right? But also just his inability to move. It just seemed like, how did he get this far? But one of those classic ones where he's playing in Scotland and he scores against us, and we go, well, he must be good if he scored against us. We better buy him. and then you buy him, and you go, oh, he's absolutely dire. And then you get rid of him as soon as possible. Yeah, I'd say Chris Killen's definitely up there. You know what one really annoyed me was, and this is reasonably recent, was Dirk Boerichter. I remember the first game he came on, and he was great. He was running by people, and I was like, oh, what a good signing this is. This is a great bit of business. We've got a great player here. And then I think he got injured, came back, and he was just absolutely rotten. Mm-hmm. And then just continued to get injured over and over again until he was released. And just what a waste of raw talent for a football player that had that much speed to then not have any ability to go with it.
No, it's quite sad, as you say, because, I mean, the big thing about Boerichter is he left and then blamed us for it, which is always the way with people, you know, it's always someone else's fault. But he had come through that famous Dutch youth system at Ajax, and there was obviously talent there, and the saddest thing about it is anybody with talent just not fulfilling it. And it was quite clear that for the 2.5 years or so that he was at Celtic Park, he was just picking up a big fat wage, and then he retired. He actually retired, and I think he was only 28, way back to the Netherlands, happy, rich, and he retires. So, yeah, I'll have him as embarrassing the hoops without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, Kevin. And I'm a big fan of Celtic jerseys. We've actually launched a match-worn Celtic jersey podcast, and a friend of mine who's not a Celtic fan keeps saying to me it's like watching the snooker on a black and white telly, talking about football kits he's got no idea about. But, you know, I guess it is quite niche, but that's fine. That's fine. And Paul Lamb and I talk about 4 jerseys every week. We're probably edging into geek territory here, Kevin, but hey, I'm fine. I've accepted that. No doubt we will be seeing 3 brand new Adidas kits in the not too distant future. What designs do you recall from your Celtic supporting life that you thought that was just a brilliant or a cult strip?
I think the first away one I had when I was a kid was it maybe about 95? It was the black one, C.R. Smith, and it had the kind of white stripes in the top half, but like black crisscrosses through the white bits as well. I just thought it was so cool. It just had such a great look to it, and the badge was really, really prominent, and it had, you know, they don't do it as much anymore, but framing the badge within a wider bit of material, you know, like a big kind of crest. And I loved that. I thought it was so cool. And it was one of those kits that the shorts and the socks, it all just kind of came together, and it just looked really cool. And I don't really remember there being, you know, many away kits that I loved up until that point. And then that one, I was like, yeah. And probably a special place in my heart as well, because it was maybe one of the first ones that I had as well, a replica of that I used to wear all the time. I think I got it at Christmas one year, and I kind of, you know, had it on all Christmas Day and running about with a football at the back garden. So, yeah, that one's special for me.
I remember it well, Kevin, because the Celtic View ran a competition, design our new away kit. Now, it wasn't a competition where the winner had the strip made, but it was whoever's design was the closest to the Umbro kit, I think won a strip or, you know, came and met the players or whatever. And I sent in. So if anybody's going to dig out the old Celtic Views, it's in there. I sent in a design, and it was black, white and green, but it wasn't vertical stripes. It was the hoops. It was black and green hoops with wee white pinstripes. And I thought, that's deadly. That's a cracker. That's bound to win it. And it was when John Barnes took over a few years later, 3, 4, maybe 5 years later, John Barnes takes over, and Umbro release a leisure polo shirt, and it was exactly the same design as the one I had done. And I thought, you swines, you absolute swines. But it's in there. It's in the Celtic View back in the day, so I remember that one well. And I get a feeling we are going to have an element of black in one of either the away kit or the third kit, because it is always 3 jerseys now, with the merchandise. So here's hoping that they'll be launched soon, because we're all about getting new Celtic content, Kevin. And please invite me to anything you're doing live online, and we'll always retweet it on a Celtic State of Mind. It's always a pleasure catching up with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we're doing some Sonic Youth gigs, streaming them on Facebook every couple of weeks, with the money going to charities round about Scotland as well. So if anybody wants to join us online, then just check out the Sonic Youth Facebook page, and all the details are there.
Brilliant, Kevin. Listen, stay safe, and I'll see you on the other side.
Cheers. Thank you very much, mate.